I tested positive for the Rona on the day I was going to go out and film, and even though I feel fine, I'm not going to risk spreading a deadly plague. Instead, let's go on a little diversion, shall we? In this video, a Q&A, a little exploration of travelling on a very tight budget, and an update to the Patreon with a new tier of some much requested new content. As ever, I've organised these by how many people I think will be interested in them, because I value your time more than any engagement statistic. So feel free to click off the video when you lose interest. There will also be chapter markers, if I can remember how to do them. Trevor Megson7583 asks, why Leeds? And that's a very good question. Why Leeds? Why? Just why? Okay, seriously though, I live near York. I didn't want to do York because I don't want to accidentally dox myself. So I drew up a list of places that are within easy reach, and I started investigating. Harrogate was the obvious first choice, it's just a few stops along the railway line. But the problem with Harrogate is that there's not that many bus services. In fact, for the pilot on this series, I spent one 10-hour day in Harrogate, and I did half of them. There's just not enough for a full series. Selby is easy to get to, but again there's only a handful of buses, fewer even than Harrogate. To the north there's the moors and the dales, which are beautiful, and one of the reasons I love living in this part of England. But buses? They're few and far between. To the east there is Hull, which would work, but it's a bit far. I don't feel like commuting to Hull. So I looked at Leeds, and I saw a good choice for a long-running series. There's more than 100 routes. Trying to ride every bus in Leeds is a lofty goal, but one that feels like it might actually be doable. Plus, Leeds is going through a transition period right now. It's moving to franchise buses at some point in the not too distant future, so there might be some value in documenting how the buses are right now. And finally, the sheer variety of available routes really sold me on Leeds. There's the dense local network, but also the coastliner at the other extreme. There's lots in between. My original plan was to commute to Leeds by bus, ride around, then ride the bus home, and I have done that a couple of times. But there are park and rides just off the motorway which make the whole process so much easier, and oddly cheaper. It's convenient, it's cheap, it's varied, it's really perfect for a good long-running series. I'm not saying you should make a series like this one, by the way. One thing I've learned is that forcing myself out of bed at 5 AM to drive to the arse end of Garforth so I can ride a bus in the pitch black is not fun. Don't do this to yourself. Learn from my mistake. I'm kidding, by the way. 5 AM's fine for me, I'm an early bird, and driving to the arse end of Garforth was actually a really chill drive, and you saw the views, you know how good it is. Moving on. While I was looking at the map, I was bemoaning the price of train tickets, as I often do. I realised that while trains are objectively bad in my part of England, the buses are surprisingly good. They're cheap, they're generally reliable. Not especially quick, but that's mostly a non-issue for me. And of all the buses I've rode, I've only ever been left stranded once. You can get a day ticket that covers all the buses in West Yorkshire for £5 or less, which made me wonder, what is the furthest you can get for a £5? I suppose one answer is, as far as you like. You could just buy that day ticket and go round and round in circles all day. I'm talking about the furthest straight line distance from Leeds as the crow flies. I'm going to say the starting point is where the Headrow meets Albion Street, so pretty much the middle of the city centre. I'll draw straight lines to the various endpoints you can reach for less than a £5, and the highest distance wins. I'll allow short walks to connecting services. For example, it's perfectly fine to start a journey from Leeds bus station or from Leeds railway station, and it's okay to change buses or change from bus to trains or vice versa. And I'm only thinking about single journeys right now, because otherwise, a single trip on one bus costs you £2, the same trip in reverse costs you another £2, and we're done. It's not interesting. Let's start with the trains, ignoring the buses for now. Leeds station is within walking distance, and you can get a fair distance for a £5. If we look to the west, advanced singles from Leeds to Mirfield are relatively common at £2.70. From there are a few options. Huddersfield singles occasionally pop up at around the £2 markish, but they're not common. I actually did a whole bunch of digging and found one train about 3 weeks in the future at 8 p.m. on a Saturday to Manchester Victoria, priced at £5. 35.8 miles feels like a good baseline. It's further than the furthest point of West Yorkshire, so Manchester Victoria knocks the day ticket strategy out of the window immediately. Heading south, things are almost as good. Advanced singles on the 5am train to Sheffield are about £4.80 2 weeks in advance, but that's only 29.3 miles. Heading east through Crossgates and Garforth, advanced singles east to East Garforth actually beat the bus fare by 20p at £1.80, and there were plenty of them when I checked. In fact, it's possible to get as far as Selby for less than £4. Lots of choices, but again, that's only 19.7 miles, so we'll put a pin in that for now. Heading north, things do get worse. On the direct line through York, we don't even get that far. We get one stop short as far as the village of Ullerskelf, about 14 miles away. On the Harrogate line, we do actually get to Poppleton, again one stop short of York. Tickets are hard to come by, but they're there at £4.50 if you look for them. I know that from experience. But again, only 20.2 miles. Then I started looking along the Settle and Carlisle line. I thought I was onto a winner when I saw tickets to Skipton started at £2.10, and they weren't hard to find. In fact, there are some really good value single tickets along the Settle and Carlisle line, and our £5 budget gets us all the way to Appleby, with a 5:15am train on a Wednesday having a single ticket available for exactly £5. At 66 miles, we have a new champion. Let's put a pin in that for the moment, because at this point I was quite satisfied I wasn't going to beat that. I moved on to long-distance coaches. 3 coach companies operate out of Leeds: National Express, Megabus, and Flixbus. National Express has a comprehensive coach network across the UK and beyond. Most large towns are served at least daily, and there are lots of options, so sure enough, there are some bargains to be had. One-way tickets to Manchester can be had at £3.50. They don't seem to be any cheaper if you book them in advance. I even found tickets as far as Manchester Airport priced just under £5. Sheffield is £4, even Hull gets a look in with tickets at £5. That's 49.4 miles. Unfortunately, we can't actually buy most of those tickets because there's a pesky £1.50 booking fee, and we can't just pretend that's not a thing. So, Manchester at £3.50 plus the £1.50 booking fee is again as far as we can go. And given the choice between a £5 midday coach to Manchester and a £5 5am train to Manchester, I think I'd rather take the coach. Flixbus has a few options. Tickets to York start at £3.49 and Manchester starts at £3.99, plus a £1 booking fee, so again, Manchester is the furthest we can get. But hey, a penny cheaper than National Express, that's not nothing. Megabus, unfortunately, falls at the first hurdle. Their cheapest ticket out of Leeds to anywhere is £3.99, and there's a booking fee of £1.50, so any Megabus ticket is beyond our reach. Just to be thorough, I thought I'd look at flights. The cheapest flight I could find out of Leeds to anywhere was to Bucharest. And if you somehow manage to navigate Ryanair's labyrinth without adding any extras, the price you pay is £14.99. That covers you and one small bag that must fit under your seat. With the £2 bus fare to the airport, that's 1,390 miles for £16.99, which is interesting, but out of our price range and thus totally irrelevant. So, we've done trains, we've done planes, and we've done coaches. All that's left are public buses. Turns out we're not quite done with Manchester, because they do have 2 free buses that run in the city centre. So if you take any of the options to Manchester, you can actually get a little further, in fact as far as Deansgate, which nudges the total up by another 0.8 of a mile to 36.6. Next, going around the circle, we have East Garforth and Selby. A train to Selby leaves us with £1.10, which isn't enough for a bus ticket, but East Garforth leaves us with £3.20, which is enough for a bus ticket. And we do have options here. There are direct buses from East Garforth to Wakefield, Castleford and Selby. Unfortunately, Selby is the furthest of these, so we're still in Selby, and we still only have £1.20 left, so we're done. Now let's talk about York. Train fares to York are always over £5, but we can still get there. The Yorkshire Coastliner runs from Leeds to York regularly, and a single ticket is £2. But the Coastliner keeps going, and going, and going. In fact, it goes as far as Whitby. Yes, if we have half a day to kill, that £2 single ticket blows most of our options away at 60.5 miles, and we still have £3 left. Unfortunately, the only way we can go any further is a little moist. Any bus journey would have us going back on ourselves, either south to Scarborough or westish to Saltburn or Middlesbrough, all of which are shorter straight-line distances. So the Coastliner takes second place. Let's change tack. We can't get any further east, but can we get any further west? The 36 bus to Ripon via Harrogate is a good starting point, 23.6 miles, and again leaves us £3 left over. From Ripon, we can get the 822 bus west to Grassington. It runs twice a day, on Sundays only, but it will take us all the way to Grassington National Park Centre, a distance of 26.2 miles? Really? Is that it? Wow. Okay. Might as well have just stayed in Ripon. Ripon's no help, so let's try Huddersfield. Sure, we know we can get there, but if we do it by bus instead of a train, that's a £2 single. Same for Murfield. Huddersfield bus station is slightly further away. We could use the same trick as Manchester, riding the Huddersfield free town bus around for nothing. But it turns out the bus station is already the westernmost point on that route. We can cross the border into Greater Manchester on the 184, but that only gets us as far as Oldham, and we're done. Tram tickets from Oldham, even the cheapest tram tickets, are more than £1, so that's no help for us. And train tickets from Huddersfield are almost the same price as train tickets from Leeds. We can't get anywhere useful for £3. I like going west. I hear life's peaceful there. So how far west can we go in one bus from Leeds? It turns out, Skipton, and we can do it 10p cheaper than the train. There are buses west from Skipton into Lancashire. In fact, hourly services as far as Preston. Preston bus station is 47.1 miles away. But let's look at the possibilities. Even if we could get up to Lancaster, which we can't, that'd still only be 54 miles. Even Liverpool would only take second place, and we can't get there either. So we have a winner. Now let's change the question slightly. We've asked how far you can get for a fiver for a hypothetical abstract you. But how far can I, specifically, get for a fiver? It's actually impossible for me to get that Appleby train, because the park and ride doesn't even start up until gone 6 o'clock. I can't afford the eye-popping £22.50 to park at the station for the day. So I'd have to park outside of the centre, ride the bus in, cut into my £5 budget, and price myself out of that train ticket. If we're specifically asking the furthest I can get, the Yorkshire Coastliner to Whitby at 60.5 miles is the winner. You don't even need to pre-book the journey. The £2 single is the walk-up fare. I could park and ride into Leeds, use the included number 5 to transfer to the bus station, and then ride one of the several Coastliner journeys whenever I happen to be ready, including the park and ride. That comes to £4 each way. Or I could just ride it from York, because, I live here. Now, I wrote this script a few weeks in advance. I queue up diversions for when I need them, for days like this. But I wasn't particularly satisfied with my answer, so I went back and I did some more digging. Turns out, Northern Rail are currently offering a limited number of £2 single tickets on the Settle and Carlisle Railway. I managed to find a ticket for this Saturday at 7:48 a.m. There's even a £2 single ticket back a few hours later. Carlisle Railway Station is 93.9 miles away from Leeds, which goes to show the price of tickets changes all the time, and what's out of reach today might be on sale tomorrow. And with a £2 single ticket, we'd still have £3 left to extend the journey further. You can watch my videos for free, ad-free, and you don't even need to sign up by visiting my Patreon. They're just there, ready to be watched right in your web browser. You don't even need an app. The website works great on mobile too. There are now also 3 membership tiers. The first one is free. You get emailed every time I post either a blog update, which I typically do once a week, or my fortnightly video. The second tier is the paid membership tier at £5 a month. You get access to my videos whenever they happen to be done instead of waiting for Friday afternoon. You also get to comment on my posts over on Patreon. And your first week's free. Try it, and if you don't like it, cancel it and you won't get charged. Sometimes I'll leave my camera running for a while, recording an entire section of journey. It might be in case something happens, or maybe I genuinely don't know what's along the route and I want to be ready to capture any landmarks. Or maybe I just want to get some B-roll for when I need some in the future. I didn't have anything to do with those longer videos except store them and occasionally chop them up for clips. Until now. The extended membership tier is at £10 a month and gives you access to longer videos as and when they're available. Some of them might even have sound. They're full or part routes. There's 2 of them up now. I'm going to be going through my archive and putting some more up. I'll watch them through, check they're suitable for uploading, and just upload them as is. You'll be able to buy the longer videos individually if you don't feel like subscribing. Anyway, my voice is starting to fail me a little bit, so I think we've reached the end of this diversion. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Next fortnight I should hopefully no longer be infectious and be back out on the buses again. Until then, I'm going to go lie down and have a big glass of water, so stay safe and don't forget to thank your driver.